Nathan Reeves lay motionless in the sterile hospital bed, his eyes closed, tubes running from his arms, machines beeping steadily beside him. But he wasn't unconscious. Through the fog of medication and pain, he could hear everything. Every single word. "How much longer do you think he has?" Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper, but Nathan heard the cold calculation in it rather than concern. "The doctor said maybe 48 hours, tops." That was Tyler Morrison's voice. Nathan would recognize it anywhere. His supposed best friend since college. The man who'd been to their house countless times for barbecues, football games, Christmas dinners. "Then we need to move fast," Jennifer said. "I've already contacted the funeral home. I'm thinking closed casket, pine box, nothing fancy." Nathan's heart monitor spiked slightly, but they didn't notice. "Good thinking, babe," Tyler replied, and Nathan heard the sound of lips meeting. They were kissing. Right there, beside his dying body. "Once he's gone, we can finally be together. No more sneaking around." "And I'll have the life insurance money," Jennifer added. $750,000. We can start fresh. Maybe move to California like we always talked about. The machines beeped faster. Nathan's blood pressure was rising, but he forced himself to remain still, to keep his breathing even. Then the door opened, and everything changed. "Mr. and Mrs. Reeves," the doctor's voice cut through the room, professional and clear. "I have some unexpected news about your husband's condition." But before Nathan could hear what came next, his mind drifted back to where it all began. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. 3 months earlier, Nathan had been living what he thought was a perfect life. He was 34 years old, a successful project manager at a construction firm in Phoenix, Arizona. He'd been married to Jennifer for 6 years, and though they didn't have children yet, they'd been talking about starting a family. Everything seemed normal. Jennifer worked as a real estate agent, often showing houses in the evenings and on weekends. Nathan never questioned her late nights or the constant ping of text messages on her phone. He trusted her completely. Tyler had been around forever. They'd pledged the same fraternity at Arizona State University, stood up at each other's weddings, and Tyler had even helped Nathan pick out Jennifer's engagement ring. When Tyler went through a messy divorce 2 years ago, Nathan and Jennifer had been there for him, letting him stay in their guest room for 3 months while he got back on his feet. "You two are like family," Tyler had said the day he moved out, clapping Nathan on the shoulder. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Nathan had believed him. The first crack in his perfect world came on a Tuesday afternoon in late September. Nathan had left work early with a migraine, something that had been happening more frequently lately. He'd chalked it up to stress from the big downtown development project he was managing. When he pulled into the driveway of their ranch-style home in the Arcadia neighborhood, he noticed Tyler's black pickup truck parked 2 houses down. Odd, but not alarming. Tyler lived across town in Tempe. Maybe he was in the area showing properties, Nathan thought. Tyler had mentioned going into real estate himself after the divorce. Nathan had used his key to enter quietly, not wanting to make noise that would worsen his headache. The house was silent except for sounds coming from upstairs, from their bedroom. He'd frozen at the bottom of the stairs, his hand gripping the banister. Low voices. A woman's laugh. Jennifer's laugh. Then Tyler's voice, intimate and familiar in a way that made Nathan's stomach turn. He should have confronted them right then, but shock paralyzed him. Instead, he'd backed out of the house silently, sat in his car for 20 minutes trying to process what he'd heard, and then drove to a coffee shop to think. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe Tyler was helping Jennifer with something. Maybe they were planning a surprise for him. But Nathan knew. Deep down, he knew. Over the next 2 weeks, he'd watched them carefully without letting on that he suspected anything. Jennifer's phone, which she now kept face down constantly. Tyler's increased presence in their lives, always with convenient excuses. The way Jennifer had started working out more, buying new clothes, wearing perfume even for evening showings. Nathan had hired a private investigator named David Santos, a quiet man in his 50s who'd seen it all. The photos came back within a week. Jennifer and Tyler at a hotel in Scottsdale, holding hands at a restaurant in Sedona where they thought no one would recognize them, kissing in Tyler's truck. The worst photo showed them looking at engagement rings in a jewelry store. Nathan had sat in his car outside the investigator's office, staring at that last photo until his vision blurred. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning a future. His future, the one he'd built with Jennifer. That night, he'd decided to confront them both. He'd arranged to meet Tyler for drinks at their usual sports bar, planning to present the evidence, to demand answers. But fate had other plans. On his way to the bar, driving down Indian School Road, Nathan's vision had suddenly blurred. His head exploded with pain unlike anything he'd ever experienced. The migraine that hit was catastrophic. He'd managed to pull over, fumbling for his phone, but before he could dial 911, the world went black. He'd woken up 3 days later in St. Joseph's Hospital, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that were keeping him alive. A brain aneurysm, the doctors said. They'd found it just in time, operated immediately. He was lucky to be alive, though the damage was severe. The prognosis was uncertain. And now, drifting in and out of consciousness over the past week, Nathan had learned the truth about the two people he'd trusted most. They thought he was dying. They were planning his funeral. They were planning their new life together, funded by his death. But Nathan wasn't dying. Not anymore. His eyes opened, just a fraction, as footsteps approached his bed. It was Jennifer, alone now. She leaned over him, and for just a moment, Nathan saw something flicker across her face. Was it guilt? Regret? Then she reached for his IV line, and Nathan's blood ran cold as he realized she wasn't waiting for him to die naturally. Jennifer's fingers hovered over the IV tubing, and Nathan's mind raced. Through his barely open eyes, he watched her glance toward the door, checking if anyone was coming. The hallway outside was quiet. The nurses were probably at their station down the hall. But before Jennifer could touch anything, the door swung open. A nurse Nathan had seen before, a woman named Patricia with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, entered with a clipboard. "Mrs. Reeves, I need to check your husband's vitals," Patricia said, moving toward the bed with professional efficiency. Jennifer stepped back quickly, her hand dropping to her side. "Of course," she said, her voice perfectly sweet. "I was just talking to him. They say coma patients can sometimes hear us." "That's absolutely true," Patricia replied, wrapping the blood pressure cuff around Nathan's arm. "Many patients report hearing everything when they wake up." Nathan felt Jennifer's eyes on him, studying his face for any reaction. He kept his expression blank, his breathing even and controlled. Years of poker nights with Tyler had taught him how to mask his emotions. The irony wasn't lost on him. Patricia worked quietly, checking the machines, adjusting his pillow, marking notes on her clipboard. "His vitals are actually improving," she said, surprise evident in her voice. "That's unusual given what the doctor said yesterday. I should page Dr. Kensington." "Improving?" Jennifer's voice cracked slightly. "But Dr. Kensington said—" "I know what he said, honey," Patricia interrupted gently, patting Jennifer's arm. But sometimes patients surprise us. The brain is a mysterious thing. Why don't you go get yourself some coffee? You've been here all night. I'll stay with him." Nathan heard Jennifer's hesitation, the pause that lasted just a beat too long. "Actually, I should call Tyler. He'll want to know. He's been so worried. Such a good friend to Nathan." "Of course, dear. You go make your call." The moment Jennifer left the room, Nathan's eyes opened fully. Patricia was still bent over her clipboard, but when she looked up and saw him staring at her, she nearly dropped it. "Mr. Reeves," she gasped. "You're awake. Let me get the doctor." "No." Nathan's voice came out as a hoarse whisper, his throat raw from the breathing tube they'd removed 2 days ago. "Not yet. Please." Patricia moved closer, her professional demeanor shifting to concern. "Mr. Reeves, you need medical attention. We thought you were in a coma." "I was, mostly," Nathan managed. "How long have I been able to hear?" "Hear?" Patricia's eyes widened with understanding. "Oh dear. What did you hear?" "Everything," Nathan said, and the single word carried the weight of betrayal, fury, and a plan forming in his mind. "My wife, my best friend, they think I'm dying. They're planning—" His voice broke, and it wasn't entirely an act. The pain was real, physical and emotional. Patricia's face hardened. She'd been a nurse for 32 years. She'd seen family members fight over inheritances, spouses who couldn't wait for insurance money, children who abandoned dying parents. But something about this young man's situation struck her differently. "What do you need?" she asked simply. "Time," Nathan said. "And your silence, just for a little while." Patricia studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I didn't see you wake up. But Mr. Reeves, I can't let them hurt you. If your wife tries anything—" "You'll be watching," Nathan finished. "I know, thank you." "Dr. Kensington is a good man," Patricia said quietly. "When you're ready, he'll help you. Whatever you need." She left the room, and Nathan closed his eyes again, his mind working through the possibilities. He'd heard everything over the past week. Not just Jennifer and Tyler planning his funeral and their future together. He'd heard the financial discussions. The life insurance policy Jennifer had convinced him to increase just 8 months ago. The details about how Tyler would help her manage the grief, and eventually they'd get married. Maybe in Hawaii, somewhere romantic. He'd heard Tyler joke about how Nathan had always been too trusting, too naive, how easy it had been to seduce Jennifer right under his nose. The door opened again. Multiple footsteps this time. Nathan kept his eyes closed, his body still. "I'm telling you, something's changed," Jennifer's voice was urgent, stressed. "That nurse said his vitals were improving." "Relax, babe," Tyler replied. "Dr. Kensington said the damage was catastrophic. Sometimes there are fluctuations, but it doesn't mean anything. He's not waking up." "But what if he does?" Jennifer hissed. "What if he heard us? Tyler, we talked about everything. The insurance, the funeral, us." "Keep your voice down," Tyler snapped. Then, softer. "He can't hear us. And even if he could, even if by some miracle he wakes up, his brain is scrambled. Dr. Kensington said there would be severe cognitive damage, memory loss. He won't remember anything from the past few weeks." Nathan's jaw tightened imperceptibly. So that was their safety net. They thought even if he survived, he wouldn't remember their betrayal. "Mrs. Reeves." "Mr. Morrison?" A new voice entered. "Dr. Kensington." Nathan had heard him before, discussing his case with other doctors. A competent surgeon, mid-40s, thorough and caring. "I have the latest brain scans. We need to talk about your husband's condition." The room went silent. Nathan could feel the tension, thick as fog. "The thing is," Dr. Kensington continued, and Nathan heard papers rustling. "The swelling in his brain has reduced significantly. more than we anticipated. There's a possibility, and I stress this is just a possibility, that Mr. Reeves might not only survive, but recover with most of his cognitive functions intact." "That's wonderful." Jennifer's voice was too bright, too forced. "It is," the doctor agreed. "However, there's something else. When we did the scan this morning, we found something unusual. Evidence that suggests your husband might be experiencing locked-in syndrome rather than a true coma." "What does that mean?" Tyler asked. Nathan's heart was pounding so hard he was certain they could all hear it. "It means," Dr. Kensington said slowly, deliberately, "that he might be fully conscious and aware, hearing everything around him. He just can't move or respond yet." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Jennifer laughed, sharp and brittle. "But that's impossible. If he could hear us, surely he would have shown some sign—" She stopped mid-sentence. Nathan knew why. She was remembering the spike in his heart rate when she and Tyler had discussed the funeral, the elevated blood pressure when they'd kissed beside his bed. "Oh God," she whispered. And that's when Nathan's eyes opened, looking directly at his wife and his former best friend. The expressions on their faces, shock, horror, fear, almost made the past week of silent suffering worth it. Dr. Kensington rushed to the bedside. "Mr. Reeves, you're awake! This is extraordinary! How long have you been conscious?" Nathan's lips moved, forming words that made Jennifer's face drain of all color. "Long enough," he said clearly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I heard everything." Tyler stumbled backward, knocking into the medical cart. Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. And in that moment, Nathan saw their entire plan crumbling around them. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that Nathan had a plan of his own. And he'd had a week of lying motionless to perfect it. The room erupted into chaos as nurses rushed in, responding to the sudden spike in the monitoring equipment. But through it all, Nathan kept his eyes locked on Jennifer and Tyler, watching them squirm, watching them realize that everything they'd said, every cruel word, every cold calculation about his death, he'd heard it all. Dr. Kensington was asking him questions, checking his responses, marveling at what he called a miraculous recovery. Patricia stood in the doorway, and when Nathan caught her eye, she gave him the smallest nod. She understood. She'd make sure Jennifer had no opportunity to be alone with him or his medical equipment. As hospital security was called to clear the room so the medical team could work, Nathan watched Tyler grab Jennifer's arm and pull her toward the door. He saw Tyler's lips move, forming words Nathan couldn't hear over the commotion. "We need to go now." But Jennifer stood frozen, staring at Nathan with an expression he'd never seen before. Not guilt, not remorse. Something much worse. It was the cold, calculating look of someone deciding whether a problem could still be eliminated. Dr. Kensington cleared the room within minutes, professional and firm. "Everyone out except medical staff. Mr. Reeves needs immediate evaluation." His tone left no room for argument. Tyler had already bolted, practically running down the hallway, but Jennifer lingered at the door, her composure returning like a mask sliding back into place. "I'll be right outside, Nathan," she called, her voice dripping with false concern. "I'm so glad you're awake, honey. I've been so worried." Nathan didn't respond. He couldn't. Not yet. The rage building inside him needed to be controlled, channeled. One wrong move and they'd slip away, claim innocence, maybe even twist the story to make him look unstable. Once the door closed, Dr. Kensington leaned in close. "Mr. Reeves, how much did you actually hear? And how long have you been conscious?" "About a week," Nathan croaked, his throat still raw. "Maybe more. Time's fuzzy." The doctor's eyebrows shot up. A week, that's... He paused, choosing his words carefully. That must have been incredibly difficult. What you overheard about your wife and friend, I need you to know that I never gave them a terminal prognosis. I said your condition was critical and uncertain, but I never said you had 48 hours. They either misunderstood or... They didn't misunderstand, Nathan interrupted. They heard what they wanted to hear. Patricia stepped forward from where she'd been standing by the monitors. Doctor, I think Mr. Reeves needs protection. I've watched Mrs. Reeves these past few days, and something hasn't sat right with me. The way she looks at those machines, at the IV lines, I've seen her touch his medication drip twice when she thought no one was watching. Dr. Kensington's jaw tightened. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying we need to be very careful, Patricia replied. And maybe hospital security needs to know about this situation. There's more, Nathan said, his voice growing stronger with each word. Before the aneurysm, I hired a private investigator, David Santos. His office is on Camelback Road. He has photos, videos, everything documenting their affair. It started at least 3 months ago, maybe longer. Why didn't you confront them? Dr. Kensington asked gently. I was going to. The night I collapsed, I was on my way to meet Tyler, to show him the evidence, to end it. Nathan's hands clenched into fists on the thin hospital blanket. Then my brain decided to explode, and suddenly I'm the one fighting for my life while they plan how to spend my insurance money. The doctor pulled up a chair, his expression grave. Mr. Reeves, Nathan, what you're describing is potentially criminal. If they were hoping you'd die, if they were planning around your death, and if your wife was tampering with your medical equipment. He trailed off, the implications hanging heavy in the air. I know, Nathan said, but I need proof, real proof, not just what I heard while I was lying here helpless. I need them to reveal themselves. Patricia and Dr. Kensington exchanged glances. What are you thinking? The nurse asked. Nathan's mind had been working on this for days, turning it over and over during the long hours of forced stillness. How bad is my actual condition? Really? Dr. Kensington pulled up Nathan's chart on the room's computer. Honestly, you're incredibly lucky. The aneurysm was severe, yes, but we caught it in time. The surgery was successful. You'll need rehabilitation, physical therapy, some cognitive therapy to make sure everything's functioning properly. But you should make a full recovery, maybe 3 to 6 months before you're completely back to normal. And if you told Jennifer something different? Nathan asked. If you told her I'd sustained severe brain damage, that I might not remember the past few weeks, that my cognitive function was seriously impaired? The doctor sat back, understanding dawning on his face. You want to draw them out? They think they're safe if I don't remember, Nathan said. Tyler even said it outside my room earlier. They're counting on brain damage to protect them. So let's give them what they expect. That's dangerous, Patricia warned. If she was willing to tamper with your IV when she thought you were dying naturally, what might she do if she thinks you're a damaged, confused witness? That's why I'll need protection, Nathan said. And surveillance. Cameras in this room, maybe audio recording. Legal, with my consent. If she tries something, we'll have proof. Dr. Kensington stood, pacing to the window. Outside, Phoenix sprawled in the desert heat, palm trees swaying in the October breeze. This is highly irregular. I'd need to involve hospital administration, legal counsel, possibly the police. Not the police, not yet, Nathan said urgently. The moment cops get involved, Jennifer and Tyler lawyer up and disappear. I need them to think they're in control. I need them to get comfortable, make mistakes. You need them to incriminate themselves, the doctor finished. Exactly. A knock at the door made them all tense. A security guard poked his head in. Dr. Kensington, Mrs. Reeves is getting agitated. She's demanding to see her husband. Says she has rights as his spouse. Nathan looked at the doctor. Let her in. But stay close. And doctor? Tell her I'm confused. Tell her the awakening is good news, but I'm disoriented. Tell her I might not remember recent events clearly. Dr. Kensington studied Nathan for a long moment. You're certain about this? I've never been more certain of anything. The doctor nodded slowly. Patricia, start a continuous monitoring log. Note every visitor, everything they do. I'll speak with hospital security about enhanced surveillance. He moved towards the door, then paused. Nathan, if this goes wrong... It won't, Nathan said, though he wasn't entirely sure he believed it. Dr. Kensington opened the door, and Jennifer rushed in, tears streaming down her face. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. She ran to Nathan's bedside, reaching for his hand. Nathan let her take it, though his skin crawled at her touch. "Oh, Nathan, thank God," she sobbed. "I thought I'd lost you. When they said you might wake up, I couldn't believe it. It's a miracle." "Jennifer?" Nathan made his voice weak, confused. What happened? Where am I?" Relief flooded her features so obviously that Patricia actually flinched. "You're in the hospital, honey. You had a brain aneurysm. You've been unconscious for over a week. Do you remember anything?" Nathan let his eyes unfocus slightly, as if struggling to concentrate. "I remember driving. My head hurt. Then nothing. How long?" 11 days, Jennifer said, squeezing his hand. 11 days I've been by your side, praying you'd come back to me." The lie was so smooth, so practiced. Nathan wondered how many lies she'd told him over the past 6 years. How many late-night showings had actually been hotel rooms with Tyler? How many times had she kissed Nathan goodnight after spending the afternoon in another man's arms? Dr. Kensington stepped forward. "Mrs. Reeves, I need to examine your husband. His awakening is positive, but we need to run cognitive tests, assess the damage." "Damage?" Jennifer's voice hitched perfectly. "What kind of damage?" "Brain injuries are unpredictable," the doctor said carefully. "Memory loss is common, especially of recent events. Confusion, disorientation. We won't know the full extent for several days." Nathan watched Jennifer's face. The relief that flickered across it was unmistakable. She thought she was safe. "Can I stay with him?" she asked. "For a little while," Dr. Kensington said. "But he needs rest. And Mrs. Reeves? No stress, nothing upsetting. His brain is still healing. Any emotional trauma could cause complications." "Of course," Jennifer murmured. "I understand." The doctor and Patricia left, though Nathan noticed Patricia positioning herself at the nurse's station just outside, where she had a direct view into his room through the glass wall. Jennifer waited exactly 30 seconds after they left. Then her entire demeanor changed. The tears stopped. Her grip on his hand loosened. She leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "How much do you really remember, Nathan?" So much for the grieving wife act. Nathan kept his expression blank, confused. "Remember about what?" "Jennifer, I'm scared. What's happening to me?" She studied his face, searching for deception. "Nothing, honey. I'm just worried about you. The doctor said you might not remember everything clearly." "The last thing I remember is work," Nathan said, letting his words slur slightly as if his brain was struggling. "The Henderson project. Was there a meeting? I can't. Everything's fuzzy." The Henderson project had been 3 months ago, before he'd discovered the affair. If he didn't remember anything after that, he didn't remember hiring the investigator. Didn't remember the photos. Didn't remember knowing about her and Tyler. Jennifer's shoulders relaxed. "Don't worry about work. Just focus on getting better." "Tyler," Nathan mumbled, as if the name had just floated into his damaged brain. "Is Tyler here? He was supposed to help me with something, I think. Maybe I dreamed it. Tyler's been here every day, Jennifer said, her voice warm now. He's been so supportive, such a good friend. He just stepped out to get coffee, but he'll be back soon. Good, Nathan said, closing his eyes as if exhausted. That's good. Tyler's a good guy. My best friend? He felt Jennifer stand, heard her footsteps move toward the door. But before she left, she paused. When Nathan cracked one eye open just slightly, he saw her standing by his IV line, her hand hovering over the medication drip, her expression calculating. Then Patricia appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Reeves, there's some insurance paperwork you need to sign at the admissions desk. Jennifer's hand dropped. Of course, I'll be right there. She glanced back at Nathan one more time, then left. Nathan's heart was racing, his blood pressure spiking. The monitors beeped a warning. Patricia rushed in. She was going to do it again, Nathan said. She was going to tamper with something. I know, Patricia said grimly. I saw. Mr. Reeves, we're moving you to a different room, one with camera surveillance, and I'm assigning myself as your primary nurse. She won't get another chance. But as they prepared to move him, Nathan's phone, which had been in the locked drawer beside his bed, began to buzz. Patricia retrieved it, frowning at the screen. It's a text from someone named David Santos, she said. It says, Nathan, I saw the news about your hospitalization. I have urgent information about your wife and Tyler Morrison. They've been meeting with someone else, a lawyer. They're planning something big. Call me as soon as you can. Nathan's blood ran cold. A lawyer? They weren't just planning a future together after his death. They were planning something more. Something that required legal preparation. And suddenly, Nathan realized. They weren't waiting for him to die anymore. They were going to make sure of it,